of the neshama coming down here is the Yerida L'Tzorech Aliyah, and this is expressed in the pasuk that also says Mayon Ganim Be'er Mayim Chaim V'Noizim Melavonon, and we said that the Mayon Ganim is the neshama the way it's in Gan Eden. It's called the wellspring or it's called the spring of the gardens. And then there is the way it comes down under the ground and then becomes a well of sweet water. That's the Be'er Mayim Chaim, the well of living water. And then it becomes the idea of a Noizlam Levonoin, that it flows from Levonoin is Leiv Nun. It's the Lamed Beis Nesivus HaChochma and the Nun Share Bina, the way they are in one word. And the way it also has to do from not just Chachma Bina, but also the level of Noizlim, which is Mazel, which is Keser, that's higher than Chachma. But all of this could not be attained by the Neshama when it was down here in this, when it was Lamaila in Gan Eden. It's only attained by the Neshama coming down here by the Yerida L'Tzorech Aliyah. So we're holding 3 lines from the bottom of the 5th page in the copies. Okay, moving like it's also understood from what's explained in the Geras HaKodesh. The job of refining the sparks and elevating them from the klippos, those above, whether it's malachim, whether it's neshamas, whether it's oilmas, they do not have the capability to elevate. Ella tachtoinim levad. Only the ones below have that capability to elevate the sparks that are embedded and found here. Seemingly, it's a question. Seemingly, if you're in a higher world, things are more spiritual, you have more divine energy, etc., etc. Why do we say that when the neshama is down up above malachim, above cannot be mevar, only down here? Because the neshamas are down here below are clothed in a material body, a physical body. Mishcha de chivya, also called in Kabbalah the skin of the snake, miklipas noiga, which is derived from klipas noiga, and therefore because they are embedded in something that comes from klipas noiga, so therefore vehematishim koicha, they weaken the power of klipas noiga. How? Top of the next page, b'shviras hatayvis v'skafis t'racher, through breaking one's desires and sublimating the sitra achra, one causes that the klippa becomes weakened. And we see this advantage that the neshamas down here have over the neshamas above, that in their accomplishments, etc. Therefore, it says that those above, including the neshamas in Gan Eden, and even Hashem comes to listen to the novel interpretations of Torah from those down here, that they bring in a new understanding and they reveal the concealed parts of Chachma, that until the neshama down here in this world clarifies a certain difficult topic and a difficult question, down here it was considered that that part of Hashem's Torah was in exile under control of the klippos, and the Yid, through studying Torah down here and bringing forth the meaning of a particular sugya, bringing forth the halacha, what is the exact ruling, so he has now released that part of Torah that's like in Golus. And this again, the neshamas above and the malachim and Hashem even comes down here to hear us do this, because only we're capable of doing this. Like it's also explained in the series of Mamarim for the yard side of the Friedrich Rebbe, of the Yud Shvat series Mamarim, concerning those that are sitting in the gardens. In that case, the gardens is talking about in the shuls and the yeshivas in exile down here. So the chaverim, makshivim lekoyle chaverim means your fellow neshamas in Gan Eden listen to your voice of the neshamas down here. Hashmi'ini, let me hear. Neshamas shebegan Eden boim lishmayas limudat Torah sheYisrael boim shebegan hazem. The neshamas in Gan Eden are coming to hear the Torah study of Yidden in this world. Why do they come to hear the Torah study of the neshamas in this world? Because only the neshamas in this world can be mechadish in Torah and reveal things from Klippa, because, as we mentioned before, only the neshamas in this world have the capability of doing the berurim, because they're enclosed in a physical body that's from Klippas Noiga, and they are weakening the Klippas Noiga through their iskafia and so on. Now you've gone close in Nashir, and all the above will also be understood the general idea of the song that we are supposed to sing, or the song that's the whole idea of singing. Concerning the shir, it's explained in Torah. The idea of a song is rising up from below to above, like we mentioned before, from the Mizrach Magid, his explanation of the Maimer Chazal, Kol Bali Ashir, Nechnosim B'Shir, Yotzim B'Shir, that we have the idea of the every aliyah and every going out of oneself is through song. So in addition to what it's the idea of a shir is about ha'ala milmata l'mayla, el sheyesh bezeh kama madreges. There are different levels in this idea of song. Shir kafel, a doubled song, shir meshulish, a tripled song, shir meruba, and a quadrupled song. Now, I'm not sure if in music there is these three things, but Kabbalah speaks about it. It says that there is a single shir which goes on the letter of Yud of Yud Kei Vav Kei, double shir is Yud Kei, triple is Yud Kei Vav, etc. And or in Chassidus it explains it concerning different dargis. So what is the concept concerning our topic? She said, totally ba'ofen ha'aliyah. Whether it's a double, tripled, or quadrupled, it has to do in the manner of the elevation. Now, even though we just now said there's all these different levels of shir, but in general divides to two. In general, the different aliyahs, the different levels of elevation through song, are the two topics, the shir chadosh loshen nekeva, the shir chadosh loshen zachar. That it says shir chadosh in the feminine versus shir chadosh in the masculine. The Bisman has Hashiri Lashon Nekeva. These days, the song is in the feminine. Ki aliyah v'agula shal ba'ashira ein bizgal sagamri, because the ascent and the redemption that takes place at present, that for that we're singing the shira, is not a completely revealed type of elevation and redemption. Then it fell, so they called tefillah v'tefillah, and the Geras HaKodesh, the Alter Rebbe explains that every davening is a miniature geula. It's a minor geula. The Geras HaKodesh Sim Daled. But that miniature geula is not like the big geula that's going to happen when Mashiach comes, but geula zu ain't a big yoli. This redemption is not in a state of revelation. It'll only become revealed when Mashiach comes. Therefore, this song is in the feminine, because the idea of feminine shows it's not so strong as the difference between the masculine and the feminine. The feminine is weaker, and it shows weakness, and strength is identified with masculine. So therefore, since this shira, and since the shira of the present times is not a fully revealed geula, the geula is not in its full force, so therefore we say shira in the feminine. That very concealment, the very fact that we said that the shira these days is something that's not fully revealed and so on, that concealment itself brings us to the masculine song of Mashiach's times. Like was explained previously at length, so then specifically the waters become clear and sweet. So what do we see from this? Through the service in this concealment and covering, one comes to the ultimate ascent. Should be the ascent of the well. Like we said before, Ali Be'er Enula, like it says in last week's parsha. Befrat Bezman Agolos, this is even more so in the time of exile. Befrat Bezman Mashiach, especially in the time of the double and quadruple darkness of the heels of Mashiach. So it's an even greater cause of elevation, that because of the greater concealment. Now, this mimer is a mimer concerning Yud Beis Tammuz. In Yud Beis Tammuz, it's about the revelation of the Geula that came out of the terrible concealment and danger that the Frierdiker Rebbe was in. So that's where he concludes with now, to such a degree. Is it such a darkness that there's even a concealment and covering and hiding over a Nasi amongst Yidden? And what was this covering caused by Vahelm Vehester, not caused by, but what did this Helm Vehester result in, or was meant to result in? And this concealment and covering was fulfilling his mission, his holy mission, in spreading Torah and strengthening and disseminating Yiddishkeit in every single place. So seemingly, what does that have to do with what the purpose? The entire theme that we were talking about over here is that the descent causes the ultimate ascent. So the same thing over here, the concealment and trying to stop the Frierdiker Rebbe from doing his holy work and fulfilling his holy mission, this itself causes the ultimate ascent, that the darkness should become transformed to light. And we see this in actuality in what took place in Yud Beis Tammuz. Yud Beis Tammuz, like it was by the redemption of the 12th of Tammuz, the very ones themselves, the very people themselves that arrested him and put him into prison were forced to let him know that he's redeemed. And this wasn't just, okay, back to the original state, but it was a Yerida l'tzaydach aliyah. It was a descent for the sake of an ascent, of something that was accomplished greater. Through this redemption came down an even greater power and strength in spreading Torah and being beautifying fulfillment of mitzvahs, because like the Rebbe often explains that through this the Frierdiker Rebbe left the Soviet Union and came to this part of the world, and in this lower hemisphere, as this calls it, he spread Yiddishkeit in ways that were never even dreamed of possible when the Frierdiker Rebbe was in Russia. So therefore, the very concealment and imprisonment led to his doing this greater level of revelation of Torah and Chassidus. That's the idea that it says by Purim also, that was transformed. That instead of the enemies of the Yidden, Chas v'Shalom, ruling over the Yidden, it happened the opposite, that the Yidden are the ones that ruled over their enemies. This is also where it says in Sharichot V'Emunah concerning that Hashem wanted to create the world with the midah of judgment. That's why it says the beginning of creation, Bereshis bara Elokim, and throughout the creation it says the name Elokim. But then Hashem saw the world could not exist, so Shitif Imay Shakadosh Baruch Hu Shitif Imay Midas Harachim. Hashem partnered with the midah of judgment, the midas harachim. That's why at the end of the creation it says B'yom Asay Savay Elokim. The Shem Havaya was introduced. But the Sharichot V'Emunah says what specifically is the midas harachim that was brought into the situation. that the midah of rachamim that Hashem manifests in the world is through tzaddikim and the signs and wonders in the Torah. So that's the revelation of Hashem's mercy and compassion, and that came about through the concealment. And that's the aliyah that follows and is a result of the Yerida. When the signs and wonders are by the tzaddik of the generation, and it's connected with matters of Torah, like it was by the Frierdiker Rebbe, that the miracles and wonders was in connection with his spreading Yiddishkeit and Torah mitzvahs. So over here also we see the midah of Hashem's compassion, that instead of just everything being concealed, we see the revelation of Hashem's Yudke Vavke. Midas Harachmim Shia Midah Shlishi is from the midah of mercy and compassion, which is the third of the three midas of Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes. Hakshura in Beis Hamikdash Hashlishi, the number 3 is always connected, and also the midah of Tiferes is connected with the third Beis Hamikdash. Befrach is a kosher mafot samiyonos chutz, especially since this midah of Rachman that we saw by the Frierdiker Rebbe is connected with spreading the well springs outward. Through this we bring closer that the Master came. This is the King Mashiach. Like it's brought down in like it's explained in the letter that the Baal Shem Tov writes about his meeting with Mashiach in Gan Eden. From this will come soon mamish to the future redemption. Especially when Yidden established the Yom Tov of redemption of Yud Beis Yud Gimel Tammuz, and every single year the Yom Tov of Yud Beis Tammuz causes an increase in disseminating Torah and fulfillment of mitzvahs. All this strengthens the candle, which is a mitzvah, and the Torah, which is the light. It minimizes and it weakens the double and quadruple darkness of exile until we merit the fulfillment of the promise that the night will shine like day. When the Master will come, this is the King Mashiach, and they will awake and sing, those that are resting and residing in the earth. And he, the Frierdiker Rebbe, amongst them, and it will be fulfilled what it says in this upcoming week's parsha. Behold, I am giving to him, Pinchas, my covenant of peace. Especially that this pasuk is in the Shir Chumash of the day of redemption of the 13th of Tammuz of that year. In other words, the year Tafshin Lamed Hey, when this Maimon was said Yud Beis Tammuz was on Shabbos, and Yud Gimel Tammuz was Sunday, Parshas Pinchas. Al Pita Kana Shir Chitas, the Balagula, but Parshas Pinchas, according to the establishment of the Shiurim of Chitas of the one who was redeemed, that this is the Shir in Parshas Pinchas when Yud Gimel Tammuz comes out. The Pinchas El Yoam Avaser Toiv. Pinchas, this is the same like Eliyahu Navi that will tell us the good news about Bias Mashiach Tzidkenu, the coming Mashiach Tzidkenu. Yavev Yigaleinu Eloheinu Kamias Lartzeinu. He'll come and redeem us and lead us upright to our land.